alaikum and a very good morning to all of you. First of all, thank you so much for being here. And as you all know, we have gathered here today to listen to one of our very esteemed guests, Mr. Rate Par, who's flew in all the way from America to share some of his experiences and some of his knowledge on do's and don'ts of starting a business. I think I'm pretty excited, and I'm sure that you all are also. Besides him, we have some of the other stakeholders also in the audience, and I'm very thankful to all of them for sparing their time to be here. We will start with some of the verses from the Holy Quran, and I would like one of the students to please come and do that for us. Thank you.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو عالم الغيب والشهادة هو الرحمن الرحيم هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر سبحان الله عما يشركون هو الله الخالق البارئ المصور له الأسماء الحسنى يسبح له ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم صدق الله.
Thank you so much. And now, with that, I will give the floors to Mr. AJ, who is representing the US Consulate, and he shall say a few words about the speaker and what to expect. So it's all yours, AJ.
It's really exciting to me to hear that you are taking entrepreneurship courses here. You know, that the university has put this together, because I think it's good for you as individuals, right? Because, you know, it provides good employment. It's good for your university. People get to see, you know, the wonderful things that you all are doing, the creativeness that your university has given you. And then it's good for the country too, because you're creating employment. So fantastic, and well done, and keep it up and take advantage of those courses. This is one of the reasons why we invited our speaker today, Rhett Power, to come talk with you exactly. Because we knew that you, of all people in the country, you know, are some of the best who can take advantage of what he has to share today. So thank you very much for that. I want you to work him hard there, okay? While he's talking, think about some good questions for this guy, and let's dig down deep and find out what he knows. All right. I also wanted to share with you some of the resources that the consulate has for young scholars. All right, for people who are looking for information sources. So we have the Lincoln Corners. We have one at PACC. Does everybody know where PACC is? Okay, so we have our Lincoln Corner there. And what is there? There's a database that's particularly useful there, where you'll find free access. There's a computer. It's a cool place. It's a quiet place. All right, it's a nice place to go if you need some place to study, you know, with some in a nice situation. Okay, and then you do have access to the databases there, which is extensive. You know, it's an extensive database of knowledge. Current access to current month magazines. Right? Maybe you just want to go relax and read People magazine or something like that. But anyway, they have access to a lot of the, you know, our most important magazines from the United States. So the other one we have is at Liaquat Library. Okay, a very nice space there. So if you live in that area, check it out sometime. Okay, and it's, like I said, it's a good, nice place to study. Finally, who here is aware of the Nest? The Nest, yeah. Okay, so it's an incubation center, right? Right, so a number of you are aware of it. If you're not, you know, go talk with some of those people that raised their hand, because It's a very innovative incubation center, and it's designed to help folks that are coming away. You are particularly nicely prepared for that, to take advantage of what they're offering. They'll help start up businesses with some of those initial costs that often drive businesses out of business in their first 1 to 3 years. All right, so it's a competitive program. You have to apply to get into it, but I think you guys will do great. Okay. Now let me introduce Rhett Power, our speaker today, from South Carolina, one of my favorite states in the Union. Okay. He started his own business in 2007, his own startup. Okay, and by 2010, he was named as the fastest growing business in South Carolina. All right, so and he's going to share more with us more about that. He is he has written several best-selling books. All right, and he's traveled all over the world speaking about entrepreneurship. So again, ask him good questions today, okay? All right, please help me welcome Rhett Power.
Thank you so much. That was powerful. Okay, so good morning. Now that wasn't enthusiastic enough. Good morning.
Good morning.
That's a little better. You want to do it one more time? I want to get you awake here. This is going to be interactive. So one more time. Good morning.
Good morning.
That's better. That makes me happy. All right, so I wanted to ask before I get started, who here has a business? Anybody? Anybody have a business idea? Who wants to go to work for someone after finishing university? And, and who wants to work for themselves? All right, I'd like to see that. So I want to thank the U.S. Embassy and I want to thank the university for having me this morning. It's a real pleasure to be here in Pakistan. I'm a little OCD. Everybody know what that means? Is it the same here? Okay, good. It's the same here as it is in America. So I've spent, as he was saying, I've spent many years overseas. I've lived in 7 countries, and I've worked and traveled in about 70, I think it is now. And so Pakistan was the only country, one of the only stands, or the only stand that I hadn't been to. And this has bothered me for about 15 years. And so finally I'm very happy that I can check it off my passport, or I've got the passport stamp, yeah. And I hope it's not the last time that I get to come. So this morning I want to talk about a couple things. I want to talk about why I became an entrepreneur. And then I want to talk about, I've got on my presentation, I've got about 50 reasons or 50 tips to running your business, but I want to go through probably the top 10 or 15, and then I want to get to your questions. Unfortunately, we don't have a couple hours to sit here and speak, so I'm going to narrow that down to the 10 or 15 that I think are the most important. And then I'm going to leave that presentation, so if you guys want to go through the rest, you're happy to. But, and then I want to get to your questions, like I said. So there are about 75 million people your age around the world. That number's probably closer to 100 million if we really did, if we had the real numbers, that are unemployed. Now I'm working in Southern Africa right now on a project, and about 50% of the people in that country are unemployed, they're your age. And I believe that entrepreneurship is the solution to that problem. I believe entrepreneurship can help us, and it gives us options in life. And we'll talk about those. Where is that supposed to? Okay. Technical difficulties. Okay. There we go. So my number one reason why I became an entrepreneur was to be challenged. Have any of you guys worked for someone else? Do you feel challenged every day? No? You do? That's good. But for a lot of people, when they work for somebody else, they're given a set of tasks to do, and you do them, and eventually you get bored with them, right? You don't find personal growth. Now, some businesses are different, some positions are different, but for a lot of us, we get bored with it because it's not 100% or 110% of what we want to do with our lives. When I worked for somebody else, I could do the job. I did the job very well, but after a couple of years, I knew the job. There wasn't going to be anything that was really different, and so I wasn't challenged and I didn't grow. When I became an entrepreneur, that was totally different because every day was a challenge. And for those of you who like a challenge, who like personal growth, who like every day to wake up and not know exactly what's going to happen, but face that day with enthusiasm, entrepreneurship might be for you. But I tell you what, for me, the challenge every day gets me up in the morning. And so if you like challenge, if you like to win, then entrepreneurship might be for you. Number two, building something that lasts a lifetime. Can anybody guess what I mean by that? What am I talking about? You can raise your hands and answer. Yes?
For example, when people die and the people who are there still remember them because what they have done and what they have established and achieved, and they follow some sort of these things. So basically they're alive in the minds of people and in the world and in the entrepreneurship and businesses. Otherwise they're actually not there.
That's sort of what I mean. What I really mean by that, by building something that will last a lifetime, is that you're able to build a business that's yours, that you started, that it has your mark on it, right? But the other thing I'm talking about is, for me, I remember this very vividly. It was March 2011, and the first time I walked into a store and saw something that I had drawn on a piece of paper become a reality, and it was on the store shelf. And this is something that I had had in my head. This is something I had had in my brain. And all of a sudden, it was in a box, and it was for sale, and people were looking at it and buying it. And that's a pretty incredible feeling, that you can create something that's yours, that you did, including the business. So I can tell you that there's no other greater satisfaction, maybe a few other things, but there's no greater satisfaction than seeing your product and your ideas come to life. Number three, creating jobs for others. Now, I didn't really think much about this when we started our business. We were looking at it very analytically. We are located in a very economically depressed part of my state. And we did that for a couple of reasons. We didn't want to move to New York. New York is the center of the toy industry in the United States, or LA, which is the other center of the toy business, because we knew that we would be a small fish in a big ocean in those cities. We moved to South Carolina because it was cheaper, labor was cheaper, property and real estate was cheaper. So we were thinking about it from a very economic and marketing kind of standpoint. We knew that we could get attention there if we really wanted it. But what I didn't realize was the impact that we could have on people's lives there. It wasn't something I was thinking about when I did it, but it's something that was a result. And when you can create jobs, there's no greater feeling. Again, I remember the first time that we brought all of our people together for a family picnic. We invited the kids and the families all to come, and we had food, and we had games, and I started thinking when I was there, wow, we are making an impact on these people's lives, we're providing jobs, and we're doing that. And that's a pretty powerful feeling. Number four, who likes to be the boss? Anybody? Good, good, good. Have you ever worked for somebody else or been involved in something else where you felt like you could do it better? Yeah? Well, another benefit of being an entrepreneur is that you get to be the boss. And that weight gets to be on your shoulders. And I really enjoyed that. I really liked that. And that's another reason that I became an entrepreneur. I didn't really think about these before I became an entrepreneur. I've thought a lot about it since, and that's why I came up with this list. But it is, at the end of the day, I like calling the shots. I like being the boss. Because I think I can do it pretty well. So number 5 is providing a better quality of life for your family. You know, when the old saying is that if you work for somebody else, you're really not going to create wealth. You're not going to create true financial independence and true wealth. And that's probably true for the most extent. You can work for companies and become pretty wealthy, but for the most part, it's really hard to generate financial wealth and financial independence when you work for someone else. Now, the benefit of entrepreneurship is it provides you a life. It doesn't always provide money, and I don't want you to think about it in terms of money. I want you to think about it sometimes businesses provide enough to get by, and what you have is the satisfaction. But it can, and a lot of times they can provide financial independence. Now, my products don't cure cancer. They don't feed the hungry. They don't solve societal problems. I'm a product development guy, and we deal in consumer products. But my first company was a toy company, a children's toy company. And I've made several products in and out of the toy business since, but most of the things that we make are in the toy field, in the toy business for the most part. And there's no greater satisfaction, again, than watching a child smile and be happy with a product that you've made. And so for me, that's very, very important at the end of the day to make products that make people happy or solve a problem. And I can tell you that if you make a product that solves a problem or have a service that solves a problem, you can succeed. Number 7, ruling the world and increasing your personal power. Anyone understand what I mean by that? Might take a guess? What's that? Yes. Yeah, let me tell you a story about what I realized about becoming successful and becoming a business person. Sometime, I think in 2011, 2012, I was in my office, and now, like I said, we're in an economically depressed area. We're in a poorer part of our state. And my assistant comes in one day, and she says, "The governor is here." And I said, "The governor of what?" She said, "The governor." She's very white. She's very kind of nervous. And, you know, the politicians or big high government officials, these are people that are hard to get in touch with unless you know someone. You normally have to go to them, and it takes a lot of time to get these meetings. And you have to be important to get these meetings. So the governor of our state kind of pushes her way past my assistant as we're having this discussion, and I'm not understanding. And she says, "I'm here to talk about economic development with you." And so we sat and we had a conversation about government and what government can do for small business and entrepreneurs, and how we had been successful, and could we duplicate that with other small businesses. But what I realized out of that meeting, it wasn't necessarily the conversation that was that important, because it's nothing was done, nothing changed. But what I realized out of that meeting was that we could have a voice, right? I didn't come from a lot of money. My father worked for the state for 40 years. My mother was a teacher. And we were very, middle class. But what I didn't realize when I became an entrepreneur is that I could have a voice, and that being an entrepreneur and being a successful entrepreneur gave me a bigger voice. And so, when you become an entrepreneur, you can use that voice for good, and you can use that voice to change policies and push for policies that are needed. So that's what I mean by increasing your personal power. Just make sure you use it for good, okay? All right, so any questions so far? Does anybody else have another reason why you might want to become an entrepreneur that they want to add? I'm always up for new suggestions that I haven't thought of. Yes?
Probably you see something going wrong and you want to come up with something different to make it work for everyone. Or probably you went to a particular shop to experience something and you were like, this should be like this or something like that. So you just start.
So to fix a problem, right? Fix problems?
Yeah, or probably come up with creative ideas, more innovations, like how about if we do it this way, this could be a smarter way to do it. Save resources.
That's good. Good. Well, look, this list evolved for me. I wouldn't have been able to give you a list of why I did this probably when I started, but this is stuff I've thought about over time, and I think it'll be different for you, and it'll be important for you to come up with your own list a few years from now once you've started your business. And we all have different motivations. So I'll be interested to see when I follow up with you all what your list is in a few years. So I'm going to skip around a little bit. Let's talk about number 4, business plans. I'm sure you've had a business planning class, right? Everybody? What do you think about that? You think business plans are necessary? Why? Can somebody give me one good reason why business plans are necessary? That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Look, if you don't plan, that means you plan to fail. I think the statistic says that 30% of companies you're more likely to fail by 30% if you don't have a business plan. And I'll sort of back that up with a few things. My first business plan was 600 pages. And first it went on my shelf, and then it went to my door because my door had a problem and it wouldn't stay closed or open. And so then it was a book. It stayed on the floor and held my door open. It was a useless document, I thought, but to this day I look back at it and I think about how useful it actually was, because we had gone through an extensive research and extensive analytics and analysis of what our problems were going to be, our challenges, who our customers were. And so we knew the business and we knew what the opportunity was. And so that business plan really was important, although I didn't use it. Now, I've been involved in a lot of businesses since then, and all of our business plans are 15 or 20 pages, but we still answered the fundamental questions. Now, I'll tell you another story. I told you I was doing a project in Africa right now. A couple of months, about 2 months ago, the criteria for getting into this incubator, into this program that I'm working on, was to write a business plan. And so we had our first cohort around the table, 12 entrepreneurs, and I'm looking at their business plans, and they all look the same. The paper is the same, the typeface is the same, the organization is the same, even the first opening paragraphs are very similar. Maybe they changed the name of the business. And I asked everyone, did you collaborate on this? And no, they said there's somebody down the street that writes business plans. Anybody have a problem with that? I hope so. So it put us a couple of months behind, because obviously we needed to because they didn't know their business. And I guess this guy is in business because the bank in South Africa requires that you bring a business plan to get a business loan. And so he's in business and he writes business plans for businesses that are going to get business loans. So, but my problem with my cohort is they didn't know their business. And the point of a business plan is to know your business inside and out, so that when you have a challenge, you can make informed decisions, right? So that business plan, I know you may not start your businesses for another 5 years or 2 years, and maybe you're going to do it once you graduate or even before, but whenever you start your business in the future, make sure you do that business plan, if that's one of the things that you remember from today, okay? Budget. The reason businesses fail, and I've seen hundreds of businesses, and I'm a business coach, which I didn't introduce myself as, but I do coach entrepreneurs. One of the biggest reasons for failure is no business plan. The second reason is budget. They don't stick to the budget. I've been fortunate enough to sit on the stage and interview through my writing and my working with Inc. magazine to interview some of the top business people in the world. I've sat on stage with some of the top business people in the world, and one of the number one characteristics of successful people, not just successful business people, but successful people, is discipline. Discipline in your personal life and discipline in your business life. Discipline financially, just like this. Well, budgets are important. You have budgets for a reason. And I'm not saying you can't move numbers and you can't make a change if you have to make a change in the middle of the year. Sometimes you have to pivot, sometimes you have to shift, sometimes you have to make a turn. I get that. But what I am going to say to you is make sure you stick to a budget. I'll tell you a couple stories. What I didn't realize when I became an entrepreneur is everybody was going to want something from me, particularly when we started becoming successful. Everyone wanted something. I had a TV guy come in one day. He's a local TV personality. He's also a salesman for the TV station. Now, my product I didn't sell locally. We just manufactured. Most of our customers were around the world and around the United States. We didn't have local customers. But he was a real salesman. He came in and he said, "Your face needs to be on TV." Right? Who doesn't want to be on TV, right? Who doesn't want to be on TV? But I didn't need to be on TV locally because my product isn't sold locally, right? So just be aware, and I didn't need to do that for my own ego. I have a big enough ego as it is. So just be aware that you don't have to do things that aren't smart for your business. Make sure you make wise decisions. Stick to a budget. You know, we do charity in our business. We do giveaways for the community. We do a lot, but we plan it and we budget for it, and we do it once a year. So just be aware that and stick to a budget and make sure. I also have another friend. This is another story he's a friend of mine. I work with him, try to help him. His father gave him a business, and he's been sort of taking care of all of his life. And he's kind of like my son. When I give my son money, he goes out and spends it. When I make him work for it, what does he do? Puts it in his own pocket, right? He saves it. So what this guy does is he goes out and buys toys. Anytime he has a little bit of business and he gets some money from the business, he goes out and buys himself a new toy. And then he calls me in a panic, wondering why he doesn't have any money. And he doesn't make those two connections. So again, just if you go outside of your budget, it can kill your business pretty quick, okay? And I know his business is going to fail at some point. You know, his business is going good and it's gone well for the last couple of years, but he is going to hit a slow point. It's inevitable. The economy is going to change, something's going to happen, he's going to hit a low point, and he's not going to have any money to survive. He's been lucky so far, but that luck's going to run out. Number 9, support system. Can anybody understand what I mean by that? What do you think I mean by have a great support system?
People helping you out. Yeah. People helping you out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Trust, keeping everyone on board.
What I mean by that is having people that support what you do, who are positive influences in your life. Does everybody have a friend that is the most negative person in the world? Right? Don't you love spending time with them? Aren't they make you feel good, right? I have a friend, God bless him. He makes me feel like I got hit by a truck every time I spend a couple hours with him. So what I've learned in my life is to spend as little time with him as possible and communicate maybe through email or WhatsApp or something else, right? Keep him at a distance as much as I can. I have to spend some time with him. But he's not good for me mentally. I don't know how he survives. But so what I'm saying by that is have people around you that are positive, that support you, support your dreams, support what you're doing. I also mean by this, have a good mentor or a couple of mentors. You know, I didn't have the right mentor when we first started the business. I had a mentor that thought small, and we were thinking big. So we were thinking differently. He didn't understand what we wanted to do and what we wanted to accomplish because he didn't have experience in the kind of thing that we were trying to do. And so his head wasn't in the same place as ours. So make sure that you have people that understand what you're trying to accomplish, who maybe have been there, who've been successful, been in the kind of business that you're in, or maybe been in a different business but have accomplished good things. And they can help you get to where you want to go. They're not always going to tell you what you want to hear, and that's different. Being negative is different. Negative means that they don't support what you're doing. Being honest is telling you the truth about what you're doing and how you're doing it. And I think there is a difference. So good support network is very, very, very important. Yes?
One of the biggest obstacles that I've seen a lot of students, and me myself, is a fear factor. So we are really afraid to take that first plunge, first step into starting your own business. And if you already have a job and if I'm employed, so that's even bigger risk, because to leave a stable job and to start a new business is a risk in itself. So that's my first question. The second question is in line with what you were saying. A lot of us comes from households where none of them have ever done a business. So even for these young boys and girls to go to their homes and tell their parents that, I want to start a business, they'll be like, no, you can't do it. Because you need to have a stable income, you need to marry, you need to do a lot of things. And there's a lot of cultural obstacles that we have, especially here, so we are more inclined towards careers and job. So that's something that I've always faced, from how to really counsel the students, to have that, that kind of a push that come, because that comes from the homes also, and of course it's also inbred since birth. You just have to do a job. That's it.
Well, look, I'm 46, and my father still wants me to be a lawyer. I think most parents want their child to have a stable profession. My dad says, get a profession, right? And I understand that, because again, he's coming from a different place. And of course, entrepreneurship is not easy. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do. It's risky. But, the way I sort of think about it now is I get older and I think more and I do less and think more. I think it's just as risky to have a job, right? Because you're not in control. You're not in control of your destiny. When I had a job, I didn't go on vacations because I was scared about losing my job, right? If my boss emailed me at 11 o'clock, I was on my cell phone in bed replying, right? If my son's a pretty good football player, if he had a match in the afternoon after school, I didn't go, right? So I wasn't in control of my own time, which is valuable because we don't get it back. You miss things that are important in your lives, events and other things that you can be doing. So for me, and you're not happy, right? Not entirely happy if you're working for somebody else and you should be an entrepreneur. And so from the health perspective, mental and physical, that can drain on you if you're not doing what you love and what's important to you. So I know that there are cultural challenges, and I'll tell you, there are cultural challenges all over the world. Every society, probably not every parent, but most parents, they want their kid to be in a profession or what they think is a stable, secure job. But I know a lot of lawyers in America that are out of work, right? So I believe that we as a society, we as people, we as universities, we as you guys are educators, we have to sort of talk to students. We have to talk to people about that. You know, we live in this world which is not. When my father graduated from university, he had almost a guaranteed existence. He almost had a guaranteed middle class existence. I mean, it was almost 100% guaranteed, right? When he retired from the state, he got a pension. He also got a federal pension. You know, he got health care for life. We don't have that. Like, if we all work for somebody for the next 20 years, they're going to give us a gold watch at the end of it and say thank you. And that's about what we have. You know, we don't get pensions from companies anymore. We don't get security. And so I think that same old mentality that we have, our parents and maybe those older generations have, is a lot different than our reality, right? And so I guess that's not an answer to the question, but I think it's something that every person fights, and it's hard to. I know it's hard to overcome, but you have to. I think we have to think about that, and I think it's going to take a while to change that thought process. But
don't you think you should work for someone first so that you get the expertise before? Because if you just start an entrepreneurship, there are a lot of things you're not open to. Because you said that if you work for someone else, you don't create wealth. But you do create wealth in terms of knowledge and skills.
My time working for other people was valuable to me because I didn't know at 21 what I wanted to do with my life. And I came to entrepreneurship when I was 36 or 35 or 30, whatever, 34, whatever it was. And so I came late in life. I think they're valuable things that you learn from working for other people. I think it is entirely a personal journey. I think it's entirely different for everyone. I don't want to put it in categories because I think some people graduate from university and they're absolutely ready because they have an idea that is unique and interesting and can make a good business. Some of us, it takes us a while to figure out what we want to do. So I learned a lot of valuable lessons. I learned how to do things and how not to do things. You know, I was in management most of my career. I worked for some really terrible people, and I worked for some really great people. And so they helped me understand how to be a good manager and how to be, you know, what not to do and what to do, how to inspire people, how to lead people. They taught me the difference between management and leadership. You know, so I learned a lot of valuable lessons from me. I mean, that's a valuable question, it's a legitimate question, but I don't think there's one answer for everyone. So some people are more mature and they understand exactly what they want to do, you know, when they're younger. So.
Right, I have a question.
Yes.
Do you think entrepreneurship is for everyone? Because, you know, you need to have a different mindset. You need to be different in order to be an entrepreneur. And unfortunately, I think in existing system, kind of universities that we have around, and they are actually trying to produce employees for the corporates, not the entrepreneurs. So how, like, if I want to be an entrepreneur at this point of my career, what should I look back and, you know, explore again that to kind of unlocking my own potential? Then should I start all over again?
I don't think entrepreneurship is for everyone, and that's why we have such high failure rates, right? I was at a lunch yesterday with university professors, and we were having a really fantastic discussion about these questions. But I believe in you know, the question from an academic perspective and from a government perspective and from the business perspective is how can we stop and how can we curb the failure rate of business. And I don't think we can. I don't think we're ever going to make more businesses succeed than fail. Why? Because not every idea is good. And you can have all the mechanics in the world. You can be doing everything right. But if your idea is terrible, it's not going to work. And also, most businesses don't manage themselves well. They don't follow the basics. They don't follow they're not disciplined. They don't follow the important steps that you need to make your business successful. Also, people quit. They have some tough times and they quit. The only reason my business is here today, the only reason I'm standing here today is because we didn't quit. The first 2 years of our business, we didn't pay ourselves. I had told my wife we were going to pay ourselves in the first 6 months and we would be profitable. I was under the impression that we would be profitable in 6 months, and I was badly mistaken. So we were probably a month from failing when we got a huge break, and I can tell you that story. I'm going to tell you that story in a little bit. But so we didn't quit. So I guess I don't know really how to answer the rest of the question. I think sometimes you have to go backwards. I went backwards in our business. I had a whole lot more to learn. I had a lot of book learning. I had a lot of things I had studied, so I thought that I knew. And I had to go back and relearn a lot of things I thought I knew when I became an entrepreneur. I went back to school, literally and by doing it, right? There's the book way, and then there's the real way that a lot of it happens. So let me I tell you what, let's hold questions until the end. I'm going to come back to questions. I'm going to get through a couple more of these points, and then we can take questions, okay? 2 points I want you to remember. Get a lawyer and get an accountant. It'll save you money, and it'll save you money, and it will save you money. I'll give you a local example. I was in a restaurant the other day in Islamabad, and we were having lunch with a group of people, and I got to talking to the owner of the restaurant. He'd been in business for about 9 months, and what he did was, when he opened his business, he employed, through a friend of his, a tax lawyer, and he got an accountant, which was smart, and somebody had told him that he needed to do this and to set up his books, and he had listened. Well, about 3 or 4 months or so into the business, the tax authorities come rushing in, and I'm guessing that it's pretty scary. It's scary when they do it in the United States. I'm sure it's probably scary when they do it here. And so what he did was he went to his office and he got a business card from his office and he gave it to the head guy, and the head guy looked at it and kind of grumbled and walked out, took his people out. So what I'm guessing is he probably saved himself a few days of nonsense and a few days of having to deal with these people that he couldn't have been working on his business, and maybe even a couple of days where his business wasn't going to be open. So all I can tell you is get a good lawyer, get a good accountant. And the other thing is, if you want investment, if you ever want investment in your business, if you don't have your books and your legal structure set up properly, no one's going to look at you. No one's going to pay a bit of attention to you, okay? The last thing one of the things I want to talk about is learning to say no. Why is that important? Anybody guess? That's one reason, yeah. Yeah. So on top of being OCD, I think I've also got ADHD. I have attention span of like this big. So for me, saying no, I've had to learn to say no. for a couple of different reasons. My time. My time is important. My job in the company is to build relationships, to make sales, to create product, to do strategic things that are important for the growth of the business. Now, I am a big to-do list person. Anybody here make to-do lists of things that they have to get done? Well, for me, it's the only way for me to manage my day, right? I've got to sit down every night. I've gotten in the habit in my life to sit down every night the night before the next day, and write out what I have to get done. Check off things, scratch things out, add things. It's a way for me to manage my time. So I've had to learn to close my door. I had to take that 600-page business plan off the floor and get my door fixed so that I could close my door and manage my time. Because what I realized was when I had my door open and had an open door policy, people would come in. I would get to the office at 9 o'clock, and at 9:05, people started coming in with their problems. I'd get involved in their problems. I'd get on the phone. All of a sudden, it's 6 o'clock or 5:30, and my day is gone, and I didn't get the important things done in my business that I needed to get done. I was dealing with everybody else's stuff, not mine. So learn to say no and manage your time. You can do it politely. You can have a strategy for it. I don't say no to everybody every day. Obviously, I have to meet with people and I have to sit down with people. But when I have to get stuff done that's critical to the business, I have to say no. And the unintended effect of that is that when you do that, people start solving their own problems. Now, all of you are going to probably start your business, and there are only going to be 1 or 2 of you, and then there are going to be 3 or 4 of you, and then there are going to be 10 of you. And this really applies when you start getting more employees and you get your companies get bigger. When you say no and you don't solve everybody's issues, people take they get empowered to solve some of their own issues and some of their own challenges. Okay, so learn to say no. Learning to say no also saves you money. I talked about budget earlier. Learning to say no can save you money, which is, again, a very important part of your business. Okay, so learn to say no. Always over-deliver. I'm going to tell you why this is really important. This goes really more to the customer service side of this. My business is here today because of over-delivering. We always paid our bills. We always over-delivered to our customers, and that's why we grew. I'll tell you a couple stories. Now, we had a customer. I was trying to get my toy product into toy stores. But we were in the middle of the recession back in 2008 and 2009. And stores were nervous. Stores were going out of business. And they weren't taking new products. They were holding on to what they had. But I had one customer that had said yes to me over the 2 years that I've been trying to sell this product. And when she took the product, she started selling the product, and she did very well with it. But the problem with her was that she was 1,000 miles away from me, and we had to physically deliver this product. So it started costing us a lot of money to do it, and it was a loss. It was a loss for us, and she knew that. But she really appreciated that we went out of our way to make sure she got the product. So about a month or so before I was going to go out of business, this was in January, I think, of 2009, she called me. She said, "Look, I know you guys are struggling. I know it's tough, but you need to come to Toy Fair in New York. And this is the largest trade show for toys, for the toy business in the world." And I told her I can't afford to come. I can't afford to come to New York. I can't pay for hotels. I can't pay for food. I can't even pay for the booth. I don't have the money. I said, "I'm going to have to live in my van and sleep in my van if I come to New York." She says, "I don't care what you have to do. You have to come to New York." And she was very insistent about it. So we figured out a way to do it. We did live in the van. And we did eat soup out of a little bag. But we came to New York. And what I didn't know was that she had become the president that year of the largest toy association in America. And she stood up in their general meeting and she says, I know a lot of you haven't taken this product because you're not taking anything new, but you have to buy this product because it's selling. It's the only thing in my store selling, and you're crazy if you don't do it. And so we walked out of Toy Fair a completely new business. We walked out of Toy Fair, we were doing, depending on the year, 50 to 80,000 in revenue. By the end of that year, we were doing 9 million. She completely transformed our company. Okay? That's because we'd gone out of our way for about a year to deliver product to her. Number two was we had also always paid our vendors. Even in our hard times, and when we couldn't pay them, we communicated with them and said, look, before they started asking, we said, look, we can't pay right now. Can we get 10 more days of credit? Just give us another week. Give us 10 days. The other side of all those new orders was that we couldn't afford to fill those new orders. So we had all of these purchase orders, but we didn't have any money to fulfill them. We went to every single one of our vendors, showed them what we had, showed them what the potential was, and every single one of them, because we had been a good customer, because we had done what we said we were going to do, and we'd paid them on time, they gave us 6 months of credit. So what I can tell you about over delivering and customer service is that it can grow your business, and it can help and it can save your business. Now, who goes to a restaurant or a place of business that gives good customer service? Everybody? Anybody? Do you not go to places because it's bad? The customer service is bad? We all know what good customer service looks like, right? It can be what differentiates you from other competition. And the fact of the matter is, what I realize about my companies, my businesses, is that I'm not going to create the next Facebook. I'm not going to create the next Uber. I'm not going to create the next unicorn business out there. And most of us aren't. And that's okay. That doesn't bother me. The world doesn't run on the Ubers of the world or the Facebooks of the world. It runs on the economies of the world run on small and medium-sized enterprise. So you can create a small and medium-sized enterprise, and that's great. That's okay. But the way you can grow and the way you can succeed is through your customer service, because that's the most important thing that you can differentiate yourself from others. And most companies don't pay enough attention to it. Okay? Network. This is another really, really important thing I can leave with you. Your network is the most important thing that you have. This goes to customer service, but it also goes to everybody in this room. You guys are about the same age. You guys are the next generation of business leaders in this country, around the world. You're also going to be business leaders around the world. Your network is the most critical thing that you have. I don't get jobs anymore. I don't get consulting work. I don't get coaching work. I don't get business deals by applying for them. I get them through my network. The reason I'm in Pakistan today is because somebody I worked with in El Salvador 7 years ago, and she's now in Islamabad. Okay? So I can tell you your network is incredibly important. I'll give you another story. I have a buddy of mine that I went to high school with. He was a terrible student. Terrible student. He was the guy that always tried to make people laugh. You all know one of those kind of guys, right? But what he is he's a people person. He understands people. And he's built an incredible real estate business in my home state, one of the best in the state. He's built an incredible real estate business without advertising. The way he does it is he goes to networking events every day, probably a couple a day. He's involved in charities in the community. He's involved in animal organizations. He's involved in school organizations. He's involved in just about everything that's possibly possible to be involved in. And he touches hundreds of people by being active in these organizations. And so when anybody in these organizations thinks of real estate, they think of him and they give him a call. Anytime they want to sell a property, or buy a property, or rent a property, that property ends up having his sign in the front of the property. So his network is how he builds his business. It's how you can build a business as well. So don't forget about the network. That's your physical network. There's also obviously the online network. Who here has a LinkedIn account? If you don't, you should be embarrassed. You should be ashamed of yourself. Okay? Your online network is also incredibly important as we live in an interconnected world. Now, I search out and seek out 5 to 10 new LinkedIn contacts every day. Why? Because there are people, even with the success I've been able to achieve, thankfully, there are people that I want to reach to. And believe me, superstars, people that you see in the media all the time, that Grace magazine covers, they still check their LinkedIn account. They still look at their Twitter feed. They still look at, even Richard Branson looks at his Twitter feed to see who's following and who's liking his post. So you can reach influencers. I'll give you a couple tips on how to do that. Now, you don't want to stalk them, but you want to, and it takes time. It's not something that happens instantly. But I have a couple people right now that are following me on LinkedIn and on Twitter. They like everything I post. They send me a note every time I post something. They've obviously read it because they reference something in the article. I know who those people are, and I know at some point they're probably going to ask for something, which is okay if they have something to offer me as well, right? So that's how we are. That's how people work. I have to offer you something, and you have to offer me something. That's how relationships work. So don't feel ashamed if there are people that you want to connect with on social media for professional or personal reasons. If you think there's somebody on social media a person that can help you and further your career, start developing an online relationship with them. Like their posts, follow what they say, congratulate them when they do something noteworthy, and they will take notice of you. And don't ask for something all the time. Ask for something when you really need it, and make it simple for them to be able to do. Okay? Don't make it hard. If you do ask them for something, don't make it hard for them to do it. Okay? But you can reach out, and you can. It'll take you a long time. It has to be something that you work at. But build that online network. Start building those LinkedIn contacts. Reaching out to people that can help you in your career, people who are doing things in your field. Connect with those people, okay? How are we doing on time? 10 minutes? Okay, I'm going to end it there so we can do questions. I have more, but let's get to the questions because I think we have a lot of them.
How important is to share your idea if you have really innovative idea? And for a business, let's say in a society like Pakistan, we don't have VCs and the banks don't give you loan right away. So what's the best way to go for an investment? Should it be friends and family, or there are other modes to it?
I think it's got to be friends and family, and I think it's got to be your own savings. I'm not a believer in seeking investment in your company at the start. I think, number one, 99.9% of us aren't going to get investment. Our business ideas and our concepts aren't interesting enough to an investor. So as an investor, I'll tell you what I look at. I look at the people. I look at the idea. I've got to like both of those. And then the third thing I really look at is has that entrepreneur gone all in? So for example, we mortgaged houses, we mortgaged cars, we leveraged every bit of our money, our retirement accounts, everything. And that's how we sustained the business for 2 years until we started making money. Now, I think that's the way to do it, because what did that teach us? Again, I go back to that example about my son. When I give him money, he spends it. When he works for it, he saves it. Because we had given everything to the business, because we had put everything that we had into the business, we didn't have an exit plan. Failure was not an option. And it made sure that we treated that money with respect. We watched every single penny, every single dime, every single dollar. And that's how we had to run it. And that has prevailed in the company culture even today, because we started watching every penny when we had to. I think if we had gotten investment early on, we would have been a lot less responsible with it. And so we look for people in our investments who have put everything in, who've learned how to manage, who've learned that financial discipline. And I think that's what I would say to you, is that I like people who've gone all in. I don't think we're all going to get investment. So we also have to be willing to do everything that's possible to save that money and to work for that money to make it happen. I believe that you have to be willing to live in that van. I think you have to be willing to go move back into your parents when you're 30 years old. And I know parents here will feed you when you're 30 years old. So I know that's doable. So you have to be willing to take that second or third job on the weekends when you'd rather be out with your friends. That's what it takes, because most of us aren't going to get a bank loan and most of us aren't going to get investment. And so those are the entrepreneurs that are willing to make those kind of sacrifices. In my personal opinion, I think those are the people that are more likely to succeed. I believe that I don't believe in protecting ideas. I believe that's why I believe so much in crowdfunding and crowdsourcing and putting your ideas out there to see if you can validate your idea. I've never been afraid of. We adopted crowdfunding. We got involved in that stuff early, because I think the earlier that I know about a product and its likelihood of being successful, through those platforms you can get customer validation pretty quick. So I believe in putting the ideas out there. I don't believe in holding it back. The thing is, I also believe I can implement it better than anybody else. So if somebody tries to copy me, good luck.
How important is it to stick to a particular business idea or a business plan? Because what happens with me is that I see any successful business in the market, so I try to open something related to it, and it creates confusion and diversion. I can't stick to a particular specific business plan.
You can't stick to a particular business plan?
As in, currently I'm running an ice cream business, a wallpaper business, and an online business of accessories. So it's like all three of these are on very small scale, and I'm too confused which one to prosper.
I believe in focus, okay? And I know that I'm at the stage now where I can diversify a little bit, and I can spread my focus out a little bit, because I don't run companies right now. I don't run companies every day. I don't do the day-to-day. But if I had, when I was trying to run my company and start my company, if I had sort of diluted my focus to two other businesses, I would have failed. And I do truly believe that, particularly in your first couple businesses, you need to give them your full attention, your 100% attention, so that you can get them off the ground and get them to a place where they can run themselves. No, and the other thing is, I know it happens. I've worked in this region. I know how, and I've worked in a lot of places around the world, and people have got 5 or 6 different things going on. I get it. But I don't believe any of those will ever grow unless you decide which one you really want to do, and you spend the next couple of years building that business. And then when you have a team in place, you have people in place that are running it, you can you can manage things a lot easier, and you can do some other businesses. But you're going to continue to struggle if you try to keep running 3 businesses. That's just a personal opinion.
My question is regarding your personal experience that at the time you started your business, you must be having so many ideas in you. Because as an entrepreneur, as a creative thinker, you always have different ideas. So what's the evaluation process that this is the best idea you need to stick with, and how to make yourself confident about that idea, and how to make your team confident that this is the best idea, and you're having the fruit with them. So I want to know about your personal experience, that what was the evaluation process in selecting your idea.
So I don't have a sophisticated way to do it. I pick product that I like, and then we try to build a case around that and to see if that product is marketable, is it sellable, is it something the public would like, is it a product that we need in the market. I'm very unsophisticated about how to make that decision. What I would say to you is, which of these products that you have or these ideas that you have really excites you the most? Do you have one that you really like the most? I mean, the reason we picked the first product, which became a Toy of the Year and sort of catapulted our company, it was a terrible business case. We had no record when we bought the product from we bought the first product that we ever did. When we bought it, he didn't know how to scale. The guy that we had bought it from, he didn't know how to scale it. So we had to figure out how to scale the product to be able to sell nationally and internationally. We had to figure out how to box the product because it was not something that he had figured out how to transport. It had live animals, it had water, so it was impossible to move around without ruining. He had no books. He had some sales, but he had no idea what he was selling. It was a terrible business case. My lawyer and my accountant said, absolutely not, this is terrible. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. But we bought it because we loved it. And we knew that we could sell it. So all I would say to you is take the product that you really enjoy the most and the product that you think needs to be in the market the most. That's how we pick. It's not like, I'm not an MBA, so I'm not an MBA person, and I don't employ sophisticated analytics to, I'm a pretty simple person. It comes down to gut feeling and talking to a bunch of people. Ask your colleagues, ask the market, ask the people that you want to sell that product to, would they buy it? Those are some of the things I would do. I mean, we took the product to trade shows to see, we would go to these consumer fairs. We did that a couple weekends. And the reason I knew this business needed to be in this product needed to be in the toy business was for those 2 weekends in a row before we bought the product, we had 6 kids. We had kids 6 deep all around us. We had like 40 kids around us at a time who were dying over this product, and they'd go and they'd yank their parents by the arm and say, "Mommy, Mommy, Mommy, I've got to have this." And so we did that 2 weekends in a row, and it happened to us 2 weekends in a row that happened, and it happened in different parts of the country. And so we knew, look, we've got something. So test it. Test which one gets more market interest. One more question. Back in the back. You've had your hand up for a while.
Yes. Do you think it's important for an entrepreneur to have a managerial experience as you did? You came around at 34, 35 of the age, and before that you were working somewhere. Do you think for a fresh grad it is important for work somewhere and then start a business?
I think, I was telling somebody earlier, we had that question earlier, I think it's up to the person. I think it is an individual choice. I wasn't ready. If you'd have wanted me to be an entrepreneur when I was 20, 21, I wouldn't have been ready for it. I only knew that I was ready for it later in my life. But I think it's a matter of the type of business that you're going into, the type of business you want to do. I learned, like I said, I learned a lot of valuable lessons from working for someone. I was a manager for most of that, but I learned how to manage people. I learned how to lead. I learned how to lead people. I learned the difference between leadership and management. I worked for some really bad people, and I worked for some really good people. So I learned a lot of valuable lessons from working for someone. But I don't know that that's the course for everyone. So I think it's a personal choice. I think it depends on the industry. It depends on if you have a great idea. It depends on your drive. Depends on your discipline. I think it depends on if you truly know what you want to do. If you truly know what you want to do, I don't know that it's necessary for you to work for someone else.
I think we can't take more questions. With this, I think thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, and I will close by saying please connect with me on social media. You can find my articles on Inc.com. You can also find my articles on CNBC and Success Magazine. Now, I've also got a new book that came out in January that might be helpful for you. It has thankfully hit the bestseller list a couple months in a row, hopefully in March as well. But you can buy that on Kindle. I think here, you can also buy it on Audible. I think Audible is free, actually. So please check that out. That's called The Entrepreneur's Book of Actions, and that is out by McGraw-Hill. So thank you. Thank you for having me.
Welcome.
And it's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was truly inspirational to hear all what you said. Unfortunately, we don't have the whole day that we would like to spend with you. We have another esteemed speaker with us, and he shall just take a few minutes to share his story with us. So we have Mr. Salman from TCS, and he shall share a few words before we end. Mr. Salman.
Thank you. Okay, before I start, I have 6-7 minutes, right? Okay, so before I start, I don't think we have given a warm Pakistani thank you to Reed right now. So I want you guys to clap hard. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Reed Powers. Thank you. I think I have been in this seat around 18 years ago, and I've heard these things. Trust me, if you just, grasp what you said, it's going to change a few lives here. Trust me on this. I have been there, so trust me. So before I talk to you guys about what can be done, I will just, whatever he said, I'll just try to give you a little bit of Pakistani flavor around that with our cultures and our values. So there's an American dream that we always talk about. So let me share a story about the Pakistani dream. So in 1984, people used to write letters and send documents. And how did they send the documents? Okay, you guys are very young. Let me tell you, the price of that stamp of that post used to be 2 rupees, right? So one fine day, somebody stood up, an entrepreneur, and he said, and what was the problem there? Maybe your parents would know, or some of them. What was the problem there? Time. It might get there, it might not get there. So, sometimes you wrote a very important document or letter and you paid 2 rupees for it, which is not a lot of money, but it might get there, it might not get there. Tomorrow morning, the after tomorrow, not sure. Pray to God. So what did the entrepreneur think? He said, why don't I launch a service in which I can guarantee that it will reach next year? I'm not going to charge 2 rupees, I'm going to charge 20 rupees. Is there a market out there or not? He researched, he talked to a few of his friends and mentors, and yes, there was a market out there. And in Karachi, if you've seen Shara Faisal, there's a place called Amber Plaza. Have you guys seen that? There's a small outlet, which was the first TCS outlet opened. And the first day, around 37 people thought that it was a good idea to send the document next morning. It's going to reach Lahore, it's going to reach Islamabad, it's going to reach next morning. But you have to pay 20 rupees for it. And today, and now let me fast forward that to today. 30 years, 32, 33 years of the company. Today, those 37 people, today, this company delivers around 600,000 letters and parcels every day to across Pakistan, around the world, wherever you might be in the world. So the concept, the power of idea is very, very, very important. The second point that I think that I need to mention here, in addition to what he said, was adaptability. People need to learn how to adapt with the changing times. Now, if that person was just doing letters today, do you think this business would have survived? Emails came in 1991. You know, now you only send a legal letter when you want to sue somebody, probably send that. So other than that, you don't send anything by. But this company adapted. This company said, okay, but why don't we also get into the printing business? Because they always used to deliver the bank statements and the credit card statements that people hate into their houses. So they thought, why don't we go back and start printing them as well? Then there were certain companies who were sending the parcels to this company. Said, why don't we also start the warehousing business? Why don't we also store it for them? And certain companies said, no, but we want temperature controlled storage because we are a pharmaceutical company. We have to store medicines and they have to store it at a certain degree temperature. So, okay, so why don't we have a temperature control warehouse? Then certain people started sending flowers and cakes to their loved ones. So why would anybody want to go to a bakery, or a flower shop, get a flower, and then go to this company and then transfer it to somebody, a friend and family in Lahore, Islamabad, or across the world? So why don't I have a service in which you just go and order that I want to send flowers to Islamabad or to my boss on this promotion, or I want to send a cake to my mother who doesn't live in the same city as I do, but just pick up a phone and order it and it will be done. So all of these things I just said is already been done, and it's already, these ideas have already been incorporated. So, and what's the net result? Yes, we talked about the SME business, we talked about the ideas, but the net result is now this company has started, and by certain estimate has become bigger than the initial company started to challenge, which was the Pakistan Post. So this is a complete, the person who's done this is a complete entrepreneurial spirit strategy. That company is still not on the stock exchange. It still works like an entrepreneurial setup. And why TCS has been successful where others have not, it's by far the market leader. It's the biggest. It has 60–70% market share across the country. The other ones, even the other 30% is fragmented. Why has it become a leader? Because of the entrepreneurial spirit. Because of each and every courier of that company feels that if this parcel is not reached at 12 o'clock when it was asked to, it's a big problem and it's a crisis. So that's, so the thing I'm trying to tell you guys is on TCS, and then I'll move on, is that there can be companies who have been around for a while and still, and there are countless number of companies that have come and gone. Can you guys name a few companies that have come and gone over the last 30 years? I have a few. Nokia, BlackBerry, AeroAsia. Remember, BlackBerry was something again before your time. People could not function in this world if you did not have a BlackBerry. And this was not 30 years ago. This was 10 years ago. So it's the rate of change and the rate of failure is very, very fast as well. So even the point I'm trying to tell you guys, even the bigger companies need to have that entrepreneurial mindset if they want to succeed. The last recent investment, which has nothing to do with logistics, is where I'm standing a team member of, is TCS eCom. It's an online retail sales portal, which is selling things online. Of course, there's a link because you get it delivered through TCS, but it's a completely new area for e-logistics. FedEx did not do it. DHL did not do it. UPS did not do it. Why is TCS doing it? Because of that entrepreneurial spirit of innovating itself, adapting itself for the future. So now coming back to you guys are very, very lucky that you're living in a very, very exciting time right now. And in a very exciting country right now as well, by the way. Things are moving very fast, changing rapidly for the better. 65% of us are below 25. So here's the baby boomers. They're going to grow up, they're going to start spending money. We are the 4th largest middle class economy in Asia right now. Our mobile penetration is larger than our neighbors. Our our 3G penetration is also larger to our neighbors. Why I'm telling you guys all this, you guys can always go to the biggest university of this world, which is google.com university and bing.com university, and find it out yourself. And please do that. The learning that you're going to get, those times have gone where you're going to wait for somebody to come and tell you what's going to happen. Whatever you want, if you have a headache, just write, I have a headache on Google, and I can guarantee you're going to get the answer for that. So if somebody wants to say, the question should be, how do I write a business plan? You can just go and write on that search bar, and I can guarantee you're going to get a lot of world-class systems and answers on it. So learn about Pakistan, because most of you guys, if you start your business, most of you started with the Pakistan market first, and inshallah grow it to everywhere else. So learn about the country. We are on at a very pivotal point of our country. The logistics part is doing well. Pakistan-China corridor is right about there. A lot of opportunities are coming in. If I reverse my life 17 years, I would have definitely started working for myself without doubt, especially in the times it is right now. So you guys, what you guys have to do is create jobs for yourself. So don't expect that you're going to move out of here and there's going to be a fancy company with a fancy brand new car keys and fancy laptop and a fancy room waiting for you. What you need to do is, in this time where the opportunities are tremendous, grind and ensure that you get up there very, very fast. And I'm telling you, a lot of people are doing it. I'm working for a startup, my company startup. You see a lot of, by far the oldest person in that company. All of them are young, dynamic, people like you, sitting on the floor with their laptops and working very, very hard. The role of incubators are very, very important. So I see certain people, it's very important. Go to them, learn from them. If you guys don't know about Nest, you guys need to know about Nest very, very quickly. It's people like you go there with an idea. They provide you all the infrastructure to help you out to start your business and grow your business. So these kind of things were not available, let's say 10 years from now, but now they are available for all of you. The digitalization has helped this country to move fast very, very quickly, because you don't need to go through the paces. Whatever technology is available in the West is also available at your disposal today. So you are actually kind of, as a country, in a position to leapfrog ahead very, very quickly. You don't have to go through the motions of the big box stores and the mall cultures, and you can all still just start going online in all your businesses anyway, because the technology is already available. So the reason why I started with the TCS example is somebody in 1980 stood up and said, let's do something differently. It's one of the biggest groups in Pakistan. All of us are not going to get there. But there are so many ideas waiting to happen in Pakistan with the kind of population that we have, with the kind of generation age that we have, with the kind of geographical placement that we have, that if you guys spend 1 hour every day just thinking of what you want to do in business, you can actually make it. It doesn't get any better than the platform that Pakistan is giving us right now on it. So thank you very much. If there are any questions, I would love to hear them, and same to read. But I think I'm within my time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you on behalf of SZABIST, on behalf of Pakistan. Thank you, and I hope that you have a lovely stay, and this is just a start, and we'll see much more of you, inshallah, in the future. And you're always welcome to be here whenever you land here. So just a word of thanks. I would just like you to please come on stage, Mr. Rate, and please take a word of thanks from our HOD and the head of the RCDA. Okay, there's another token also, sir. Thank you so much, Salman from TCS. Okay. I would just thank you.